All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. The intent of this morning is really to put out some information on this upcoming program run by the town of Hamilton. It's a municipal energy aggregation program, which basically means we're trying to lump everyone's energy together and purchase it from a supplier for a better price than the national grid suppliers could sell it for. So you probably get a lot of independent kind of solicitation for these suppliers, buy energy from us, buy energy from us. But Hamilton as a town has decided to get together and combine all the residents together to go out together for a price. That's kind of the essence of the program. And I'm here with John O'Rourke, who is the representative with Good Energy. They're helping us navigate this whole process, and they'll be running a lot of the outreach and information distribution for the program. And lastly, I'm the energy manager for Hamilton and Wenham. It's a part-time position, and I help with projects like this, with renewable energy projects in town, green communities, energy efficiency projects in town. So if you have questions about any of that stuff, I'm available for that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to John. He gave this presentation to the Board of Selectmen a few weeks ago, so we'll present it again to you and then open up for questions at the end.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, ladies, for being here. I'm just going to go over this short presentation, and then I'll open it up for questions. My name, again, is John O'Rourke. The company name is Good Energy. We are the national and the Massachusetts leader in what's called Municipal Electricity Aggregation. We call it more simply community electricity aggregation. Essentially what we do, we go into municipalities and we take the load of all the residents and businesses and go out to bid for you with national electricity companies. And one of our objectives is to get a lower price than the local utility. And normally we can do that. So that's what our objective is, and I'll just go through this, as I say, this fast presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions. Here in Massachusetts, the law was changed in 1997. We're the first state in the country to pass a municipal aggregation law. And as you can see, from the year 2000 up until the year 2017 or 2014, there wasn't a lot of activity. There were a couple of aggregations that went in, but there wasn't much added to it until 2015. The reason for that is there were very high energy prices at the end of 2014, and residents went to their municipal officials and said, you know, how can we get our electricity prices down? That encouraged more interest in municipal aggregation, and you can see at 2015, no, that's not working. You can see 2015, 2016, and 2017 how increases have happened in municipal electricity aggregation. We came into the market here in Massachusetts in 2014 and have worked with about 41 communities so far to get their plans approved by the Department of Public Utilities. So you can see this increase and this interest in aggregation as all right, here's a summary of what our plans are. We have 33 active plans. We have 2 that are approved by DPU, that's the Department of Public Utilities, that are waiting to go out for bid. We have 5 plans pending at DPU, and we have 1 plan in development. We're also speaking to another 8 or 10 municipalities to do their plans. So you can see the populations of these towns, almost 1 million people, households of 368,000. Normally, when we do an aggregation, we get somewhere between 75 and 80% of the households in that community in the aggregation.
What does an aggregation mean?
Well, it essentially means you're forming a buying group. Okay, and that'll be on the next slide, I believe. Oop. All right, this is tough to see. I'm going to skip this slide and go to this slide. This is from November 2016, and it goes all the way to April 2019. You're in the National Grid service area. The National Grid prices are in blue, and the aggregation prices that we have managed to get on competitive bids are in orange. The difference between those two is the savings that residents have experienced during that time period. You can see there's one 6-month period where National Grid was slightly below our aggregation price, but essentially we're normally very successful through the term of the contract in providing savings. It can't be guaranteed for every 6-month period, but certainly throughout the contract, all of our aggregations have saved the residents money. I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions that we get very commonly from groups that we talk to, and certainly from boards of selectmen that we deal with. What is municipal aggregation, or as Good Energy has coined the name, community electricity aggregation? In its simplest form, it is the formation of a consumer buying group to negotiate more advantageous prices and terms for electricity supply. Everyone understands the concept that buying in bulk lowers the unit price. You know, we all belong to, I belong to BJ's, I belong to Costco. Excuse me. When you buy a bunch of things, you usually pay less per unit price. That's the whole concept that we're dealing with here with aggregation, is to group the accounts within a municipality, both residents and businesses, and go out to bid with national suppliers who want to get that business. Essentially, with the utilities, since deregulation in 1997, they're not concerned with the price of the electricity that they bring in. They're only interested, they only make money on the transmission and the distribution and the servicing of the infrastructure. So National Grid doesn't care whether the electricity comes from ABC supplier or XYZ supplier. It's all the same to them. What are the goals of community electricity aggregation? Longer-term electricity price stability. We recently did an aggregation of 23 communities that bid for a 3-year contract. So instead of having the price change every 6 months with the local utility, that price stays constant for 3 years, 36 months. Normally, as I say, our prices are reduced, and that's for the whole term of the contract. There are periods during that term, that 6 months, those 6-month changes, where the utility might be a little lower, but normally, again, through the whole contract, our prices save consumers money. More renewable energy options. We have programs where there are municipalities that want a larger share of renewable energy in the fuel mix, so that they can basically comply with what the Commonwealth is doing in trying to lower the carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions. Here in Hamilton, the standard product is going to be an additional 5% renewable energy. For people that don't want any more renewable energy than is required by the state, which this year is 14%, they can go down to that level, or if they are really want to improve the environment, they can go up to 100% green energy. There's also protection from unscrupulous marketers of electricity. When we put a program into municipalities, most of these marketers that you may have gotten phone calls or letters from are discouraged from coming into those markets because they know people have already gone into an aggregation, and the aggregation price is normally better than they can offer. A lot of times what they'll do, they'll offer a teaser rate price for 3 or 6 months, and then when you're not paying attention to your bill anymore, the price goes up. And also, a lot of them have termination fees, which are exorbitant. So you got to be very careful of these situations. And if you get a phone call, somebody wants your account number, never give them your account number, because that they can switch you over. Okay.
Until I realized that they were not on.
If you get a phone call like that, you always want to get information sent to you so you can read the small print before you make any commitments.
So what are you going to do with my account number?
Well, what they can do with your account number once they get it is they can call National Grid and say, so-and-so called us, says they want to switch over to us, and that'll happen. What you have to do is review your bill every month and make sure you're not getting charged big dollars for your electricity.
Well, if I get the bill from National Grid, it wouldn't be on there, would it?
Well, the bill from National Grid, the only difference you're going to see on the bill is the name of the supplier. Everything else will be the same. Okay, and that's why a lot of people don't even realize that they've been placed with another supplier other than National Grid, or if you're in an aggregation, or you've gotten a contract from a third-party supplier.
I know you're going to answer these questions, but how do you get out of that if you didn't realize what you were doing?
You can call them up and call up, well, whoever it is that
Told you. I don't even know.
They'll be listed on your
okay, it'll be listed.
on your bill.
Yeah.
They'll tell them to stop.
And there should be a number there as well. Yeah.
How are they going to charge me? I didn't give them any information about money things, only my account number.
Okay. If you do get a bill that's high, you can always call me, and because my number is at the end here. Okay. Why is the aggregation plan an opt-out plan rather than an opt-in plan? This is one of the big questions we get. When the law was written, part of the rationale for the law was that the best way to put together the largest buying group is to have an opt-out plan, which basically means everyone is in the plan until they say they're not in the plan. The law was written that way just for that purpose. Now, the long answer to this question is it makes business sense, because if we had a situation where, first of all, good energy, we're in every state that has aggregation laws. And we have, when we do an aggregation, our opt-out rate is somewhere between 5 and 7%. So the suppliers we deal with understand that, and understand that the load for that particular municipality, they can count on probably getting 93% of that load, okay? If it was an opt-in situation, they're not even going to bid on it because they don't know whether it'll be 90% or 80% or 50% or 20%. So there's a lot of risk in making that kind of a commitment when they really don't know how many people are going to be brought into the aggregation. That's why opt-out aggregations are successful rather than opt-in. There are a couple of states that have opt-in regulations that don't go anywhere. So that's the reason for that. How does community electricity aggregation change my relationship with National Grid? The relationship with National Grid doesn't change. National Grid, again, supplies the electricity, they transmit and distribute the electricity, okay? The supplier, they're neutral. They don't care where the supply comes from. They take care of your service, your infrastructure, okay, and distributing the electricity to you. If there's an outage, you call National Grid. Again, it doesn't make any difference whether it's ABC supplier or XYZ supplier. They don't care. All right. The only thing that changes on the bill for someone in the aggregation is the name of the supplier. That's the only thing that changes. Everything else stays the same. If I have solar panels and a net metering agreement with National Grid, how does community electricity aggregation impact that agreement? It does not impact the agreement. They're two separate agreements. If you have solar panels and you have a net metering agreement with National Grid, that stays in place for however much you generate from solar, and then what you get from the grid or from the supplier is separate, okay? If I participate in a discount program with National Grid, how does community electricity aggregation impact that discount program? There's no impact. If you have a discount program, it stays in place. Your discount program comes off the distribution part of the bill, and it doesn't affect anything you currently have with National Grid as far as discounts. How will I know that participating in community electricity aggregation will benefit me? We do a comprehensive education program. We do meetings like this. We do marketing, advertising. As we're coming up to what is known as bid day, when we go out for the competitive bid, and essentially we're looking to inform all the residents of Hamilton exactly what we're doing, okay? There's a customer notification letter that goes out after a bid has been accepted by the town. And in that letter, it's a 2-page letter. It's been approved by the Department of Public Utilities. And essentially it tells you everything about the program, how to stay in, how to get out, and other basic information that you need to make a decision. It also has in there a grid that shows you the electricity price of the aggregation and the current electricity price for National Grid.
So John, with the revised bid date, when would that letter be going out, estimated? So everyone can expect it.
We are looking at a bid date now of next Tuesday to go out for a competitive bid. Once that bid is accepted, now it doesn't have to be accepted by the town. Certainly, we wouldn't go out to bid for you unless we knew we were going to do well. So 99% of the time, we have towns that accept the bid. All right, once that bid is accepted, then a 36-day period starts. During that 36-day period, we mail a letter to every resident who is on the basic service of National Grid. If you have already selected an alternative supplier, you don't get that letter. If you're on the basic service of National Grid, you do get that letter, and that letter informs you of what is happening with the program. You have 36 days from the time you get that letter to say yay or nay to the program, whether you want to be in or not. If you don't want to be in, there's a card that you just sign and put it in an envelope, send it off, and you won't be included in the aggregation. If a consumer wants to leave the community electricity aggregation, is there any penalty or termination fee? No. None of our community electricity aggregations have a termination fee or a penalty for wanting to leave. There are other questions, other frequently asked questions at this website, which we maintain on a almost daily basis for anything. There's about 36 questions on there. I gave you the most popular ones. They cover just about anything, okay, that you would want to know. Again, This is my card. My cell phone number is on there. It's 413-548-0999. I'll do that too. And again, anytime you have a question, feel free to call me, because one of our strengths is customer service. We want to make sure that everybody understands what this is about, and if they have questions, you know, I'm fielding calls every day from aggregations we've had in process for 3 or 4 years now. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Any other questions you ladies have aside from these?
I have Beer Day. Beer Day is another supplier.
Yes, Verde, right, yes.
I don't know how I ever got into that, but it was a long time ago.
Well, you know, they could have called you and
No, they sent information.
or sent information. Okay.
Any savings with them? I don't know. It's just so complicated because
It is complicated.
Are you checking your bill regularly?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I pay it every month and I kind of, because we have a pool which goes up when you have a pool bill.
Sure.
And air
Yes.
conditioners all summer. Now it's at a level that's better now, but
Right.
I don't know, it seems to be, comparing it from last year, it seems to be the same at the certain time.
What you need to look at is the kilowatt hour price,
Yeah, I know that.
and if it, you know, if it looks okay, then that's fine.
But you have
You
to
know.
know what the National Grid one is.
Yes.
You wouldn't know unless you had another, right.
National,
It's not easy, not
Yeah.
straightforward.
National Grid last week came out with the new rate for November 1st. It's going to be 13,718 per kilowatt hour. Our established aggregations right now are at 1043, so it's a big difference. Okay,
Two questions.
sure.
Are there, when you're saying the aggregate, are there several suppliers that you deal with that go in together to supply? Or would a town be supplied by just one company?
What we do on bid day is we have 3 to 4 suppliers that bid on the load, and we show the selectmen a matrix, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, 30 months, 36 months, and there are prices for 4 different suppliers in all of those categories. They pick what they think is the best price. We certainly advise them, okay, but they pick the best price, okay, out of that grid for the length of time that they think is the best, okay? And it's one supplier, yes.
My other question is, are there other companies that are also providing aggregates? Yeah.
There are 3 companies that work in Massachusetts, us and 2 others, which I won't name. But we are the best. Okay.
But they send out something every month that's your energy report.
I get one of those, and I'm always amazed when I get it because I'm using so much more electricity than my neighbors.
Yes, always.
It's like,
I live
you know.
alone. I live alone. I don't have a washer and dryer. I don't have a dishwasher. I don't have a lot of things. And how can I be using more than my neighbors?
I'm amazed every month when I get, or quarterly, I think I get it from Eversource,
Yeah.
or maybe monthly. But, you know, at night, if I walk out of a room, I turn the light off. I'm like very conscious of conserving energy. And, you know, if you look at my report, I'm like, you know, I have the lights on all night. You know, it's.
Right, exactly.
Compares you with your typical neighbors who heat their homes.
Well, a lot of.
That's the more that they are.
A lot of my neighbors are living in the dark.
Yeah.
You know. Miss,
They should be able to explain that to you, why.
I don't know why.
I mean, yes.
we're scheduled to have the bid on next Tuesday. It will officially start 36 days after that. So we're talking about middle of November, okay? what'll probably happen is that, okay, that middle of November will be the time when everybody, when the supplier gets everybody who's in, and then it will switch over on the next meter read in December. That's what we're aiming for here. If there's any more delays in our bid date, it would probably have to go into January to start. But essentially, that's the way it works.
So you wouldn't see the new supplier listed on your bill until a December, best case,
Right.
potentially January.
Mm-hmm.
Once all this 30 days and bidding gets, we do all that first.
And essentially, don't forget, all of these plans are vigorously reviewed by the Department of Energy Resources and the Department of Public Utilities. They go through a very strict and comprehensive review process and approval process. So it's not like, we're out here doing this on our own. Department of Public Utilities watches over this very, very carefully. And they're most concerned about making sure consumers are happy with the way these things are going.
So would the town send us a letter?
The letter will come on letterhead from the town. It'll be sent out by the supplier, but it'll be from the town, basically from the town. Yeah.
Well, have any of the other aggregate applied to the town for the same deal that you're, offering? Was
I
the
did-
competition from some of the other groups for the town approval?
There was a solicitation, you mean to hire Good Energy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a solicitation process, yes.
So,
And we actually went in with a bunch of other towns who were doing the same thing, and we
Right.
all went up together to hire a Good Energy type firm. But that was now years ago. It's a long process.
We
You remember, I think 2 years ago this was at town meeting, and the selectmen voted to move forward and, do more exploratory, but that was 2 years ago, so it's been a long project. The solicitation was maybe in 2016, maybe 2015.
Yeah, there was a competitive bid done by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, okay, which is the RPA that covers 101 of the municipalities around Boston. They did a competitive bid at the end of 2015. We responded, and there were, I think, 3 others who responded to the bid, okay, for a recommendation to be called their vendor of choice, their preferred vendor, and we won that competition. So essentially, if any of the 101 towns in their service area want to do aggregation, they have a choice of coming with us or doing their own RFP to go out. Okay, but we were chosen by them as the lead consultant. Okay. Any other questions, ladies? Well, thank you very much for being here. I'm going to pass out some cards.
We also have some little flyers. I don't know if they're here yet, but we'll leave some. I see you have kind of an info table in the front there, so we'll leave some flyers as soon as we get them on the program.
I was just gonna ask you. I was just gonna turn them around.
Yes, thank you.